Hey, uh, I'm starting a YouTube project, and so I read a lot of stuff like I Ching, koan, like koans of Dogden, and a lot of stuff like Sanskrit Buddhist stuff. It's really interesting thoughts, and it's really something that needs to be obtained. So through having a conversation, through sitting here at my home and having this conversation, I hope to obtain some of the principles more. I hope to build a deeper understanding of it through the conversation. Uh, Also, I know there's a psychological impact of making them public because then you have a social expectation to adhere to these principles. So I am mostly doing this for me, but if you can get anything out of this, I would be really happy. Uh, First thing I'm going to start with is I Ching. There's 64 hexagrams, and if you've ever seen what the I Ching looks like, it's pretty much what the yin yang comes from. It's just the deeper concepts attached to the yin yang. And it's really one of the foundations of Chinese thought, and it's really, really intense. Uh, read the first hexagram, which is Chen, the creative. If you're alert to the creative, you'll meet with good fortune now. This hexagram signals a time when the fundamental creative power of the universe is available to you. An unrestricted outpouring of benevolent energy from the heaven makes possible profound progress for those who are consciously following proper principles. Frantic activity is not in order. Your responsibility instead is to be open and receptive to the higher power, allowing it to guide your actions. By allowing inferior thoughts and habits to pass away, you make room for an expansion of your superior qualities, which lead inevitably to good fortune. In your conduct with others, embody tolerance, reticence, and gentleness. Strive to meet others halfway in every situation. To overextend yourself, or require that of another, is to create an undesirable imbalance. Your attitude towards the sage is most important. Alertness and receptiveness are paramount. To receive the powerful assistance of the creative, remain humble, patient, accepting, and responsive. Careful attention to truth brings vast rewards in time. What I take from that is conduct, conduct, conduct. Even in the best of times, the only way you can enjoy it is through proper conduct. The only way you can experience that sense of joy is through proper conduct. You think in the past, how many people have you met who had a birthday but found a reason to be miserable about it? Had a celebration but found a way to destroy it because they walked away from the conduct that they knew to be right. They walked away from that what would have filled them. They talk about the sage. For me, you can take it however you want. I look at that as a metaphor for an idealized set of conduct. So you have this ideal version of the sage, or Buddha, whatever you like to call it, of conduct, of enlightenment, of how you would act. So it's just this perfect conceptualization of what it would be like to have that obtainment. And I think it's important to hold on to that because, well, it gives you something to emulate. It gives you something to look up to, something to build on. And when I see I Ching and the sage, you just see this beautiful sense of being that flows naturally without suffering, giving strength and meeting everything within its life. It's completely fulfilled. So when I think of the sage, that's what I conceptualize. And I conceptualize that to obtain that. I mean, that's very similar to some of the meditations you'll do in Tibetan Buddhism when you're just looking at like a Bodhidharma or something like this, and you're focusing on them. It's a very similar thing being done with the I Ching. Actually, strikingly now I think about it, it's extremely similar to how it's done, because in the end you're using it as a tool to analyze your conduct. And when you hit the creative, the idea is, what would the greatest thing you can imagine be in the most creative circumstance? What would be the sage, this perfect vision of how you want to be, of how you could be, how would it act? In the same way, it's kind of what would Jesus do? So, what would you do in a perfect situation where you had everything, where that whole creative outflowing of energy was apparent in you? Would you do what's right to honor it, or would you push it away? And that's a deeper explanation for suffering in life than not having things your mind wants. So there's a distinct difference between the rational mind and the limbic brain. Essentially, well, your gut, what you feel, your heart, your expressions, your core. Fulfillment comes through that. You can't rationalize fulfillment. It will never occur because that's not what it is. It's trying to call sand water. It's not. It's not going to be. You can try all you want, but you're never going to get it. You're never going to quench your thirst. I guess it's a beautiful thing to start with the I Ching, is that it really, really brings that out. That everything comes down to acting and making it click within your brain. That's what enlightenment is. That's what the whole concept of Buddhism, the whole concept of Taoism, well, really the energy behind so many religions in this world, so many thoughts. It's not just religion, because religion is a kind of foolish concept. It's really just a way to summarize groups that believe in something common that's metaphysical, which is stupid, because they have underlying intentions of building things. All religions have different intentions to build something. They have different social ideas, different forms. It's really a collection of thoughts beyond just to really lump those in with just a metaphysical thought process is a mistake, because there's a lot of thought that's involved behind these processes. Now, with each hexagram, there's a couple lines with it, and when you throw the coins, it will direct you to them. That's just the way you look at the I Ching, is you throw the coins, then you'll draw the hexagram. But I'm going to read through them, just because they're really good advice. Darkness still. Do not act prematurely. The light of the creative has not yet ripened. Remain patient until the time is clearly ripe. The light begins to emerge. Resist the compulsion of the ego to influence others and gain recognition. Modesty furthers. Your inner power makes influence possible. There is danger and ambition in agenda making. The true beneficial influence is that which flows naturally from your attention to what is correct. A place of transition. There is the possibility of progress in many directions. Let go of preconceived notions about your proper path. You should be aligned with the creative to guide you. That one always sticks out to me. One of the biggest mistakes I make is I make conceptions about circumstances that would create my happiness, that would create where I could do the right thing, where I could be the right person. And one thing I'm continually confronted with is the universe is bigger than me. It's bigger than my imagination. And when I make preconceived notions about my path, I set myself up to fail. I don't know how it's going to go. Your attention to proper principles has fostered emergence of the creative. Influence occurs without any conscious intervention on your part. That's kind of talking about a concept I learned from one of my teachers called Wu Wei, which means be without effort and do nothing. Arrogance in ambition or conduct brings danger, downfall, and isolation. Remain quietly joined to the will of the sage. The abandonment of gentleness and humility leads to misfortune. That's another thing I'm confronting myself with right now. I acted out. Certain things were going my way, and I was caught between the process, whether it was a matter of self-respect by confronting people when necessary, or I could have waited it out and actually let things kind of flow from that. It's kind of a tension I feel between sometimes a Taoist concept and a Buddhistic concept, which the Buddhistic concept may say the same thing, but it's maybe what I associate with that. I felt good confronting point of self-esteem, but I didn't feel as free as I did now. I guess maybe the problem is that I had a conception of it. I have a conception of it now, which is currently my mistake, when the point is to just let go and work with it.